care about so much. I'm Matt Holland. I have the honor of serving as the Coordinated Entry Operations and Evaluation Specialist at CHIP. And if I can repeat that 2 times in a row, then I should get a little prize, I think. That's the longest title ever. No offense, Chelsea. CHIP's mission is to mobilize, advocate, empower community collaboration toward ending homelessness and foster an effective system of homelessness prevention and intervention in the greater Indianapolis area. We firmly believe that everyone has the right to be housed and connected to care, and that the only way we can achieve that is by working together, because successful efforts toward ending homelessness require the collective talents, resources, and commitment of the entire Indianapolis community. No one group or individual has the ability to address these issues alone, and we are much more effective and impactful when we bring our collective talents together under a shared vision. The Lunch and Learns are meant to provide insight into the issue of homelessness in Indianapolis, as well as highlight the collective work being done by our amazing partner organizations working across the homeless system. And today you'll hear from several of those partners. Before we jump into today's topic and meet our phenomenal panelists, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank our 2021 celebration sponsors. Thank you so much to your commitment to ending homelessness in Indianapolis. We appreciate you immensely and could not do the work without you. Today's topic is one that we all wish was not so relevant, and it's leading from experience, engaging peer specialists and those with lived experience. We all know the saying that the best way to understand someone's experience is to walk a mile in their shoes. What if you had already walked in those shoes and your journey can help connect to another person from a place of empathy, compassion, and lived experience? What if your experience can shed light on the complexities, causes, and solutions that those who haven't been there don't fully see or understand? This was the reality for far too many individuals and families who were experiencing homelessness across the county and in Indianapolis. In 2020, 8,502 individuals experienced homelessness throughout the year in our city. On a single night in January 2021, our point-in-time count counted 1,928 people who were staying in emergency shelters, safe haven, transitional housing, or living unsheltered. Those experiencing homelessness are disproportionately Black and Brown households, and increasingly those over 62 and those who have more chronic health conditions. The role of peer support specialists is growing in many sectors, including homeless and housing services. Peer specialists are trained, certified individuals who provide support to others because they've explicitly had their own personal experiences with homelessness, substance use, and/or mental health issues. Today, we will hear from peer specialists working in Indianapolis about their role and work to elevate the voices of those most impacted by these issues and to advocate for more effective and inclusive solutions. Let's meet and hear from our phenomenal panelists today to learn more about the work of peer specialists in our community and how to engage those with lived expertise to inform the work of ending homelessness in Indianapolis. Yvette Markey works to serve individuals and families as a certified addiction peer recovery coach, level 2 with a mental health endorsement, and also as a community health worker and certified recovery specialist. She's the founder and executive director of a local 501c3 nonprofit, In Touch Outreach Resource Center. Stephen Pepper is a 15-year military veteran who works at the Institute for Justice Research and Development as a reentry peer program specialist, in addition to working with Peer Network Indiana as a certified community health worker. And Lakeisha Walton is a peer support specialist at the Damien Center. They previously served as the Transitional Living Program House Director for Trinity Haven. So to open up with our panelists, if you could each take just a minute and let us know what part of the homeless response system your work typically falls in, what populations you work with the most, and who or what inspires your work.
Okay, so I'll take off. Is that okay, Matt? It looks like that's the way the
Great.
flow is going here.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here with all of you, and thanks, Matt, for reaching out. I am Yvette Markey, as Matt said. I'm a certified addiction peer recovery coach with the mental health endorsement level 2. And I'm also a community health worker, certified recovery specialist, and a medicated assisted treatment specialist. I currently work with the Indiana Recovery Network and the Mental Health of America organization as a recovery support coach and as a recovery engagement center coordinator. And so what I do in my day-to-day is work with individuals who are, so I am a person in long-term recovery as well. Substance use and mental health, I manage daily. And so, you know, what keeps me here, I may be jumping around here, but we talk about what inspires me is the people that I speak with and meet with and hear from every day, who are presenting with issues of homelessness, substance use, and mental health. All of those things I know too well from firsthand lived experience. And so my inspiration comes quite honestly from myself being where I am and being able to use that lived experience to help others and to hopefully inspire hope that you know, they too can get to the end of the rainbow, so to speak. I do street outreach. I'm in the office, I'll get in the streets and in the alleys, like I'll go wherever I need to go. They have to remind me you can't go alone, you have to take somebody with you. Diversion, I do a lot of work to help individuals and families to stay in their homes who are facing eviction, locating resources for financial assistance, you name it, calling the shelters, maybe sending a hat around for a family to get a room for a day or two. Like, you know, it's, you know, so the recovery specialist, the role entails a whole lot. I'd be all day talking about the things and how we help, because sometimes you have to get creative and do that. So I do that on the daily. Again, families, individuals, people who are unsheltered and seeking shelter. And so, you know, I'm happy to see so many people, and I'm hoping out of this that I can learn some other ways that I can best support individuals who are still struggling. So thank you. Yeah, thank you all for being here. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, Yvette. That is really hard to follow. So I'm not sure who's feeling up to it, but.
Oh,
I am. I'll go next.
go ahead, Leticia. That's right. We do this.
Yes. My name is Lakeisha Walton. My pronouns are they, them, and I am the peer support specialist at the Devian Center. I work majorly within housing and a lot within outreach and harm reduction most recently. And I work mostly, if not all, with young adults, so 18 to 24. A lot of what Yvette said, like, you know, what inspires me is the best way to put it, because I have also been through a lot. And in order for me to actually be sitting here in like the best state of mind that I've been in my entire life, lets me know that not only have I survived, but I am continuing to survive. So I would also say that I'm a very big inspiration to myself, and I love being that inspiration to others.
Great. Thank you, Lakeisha. And last but not least, Stephen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Pepper. Thank you all for being here. As Matt said, I work for the Institute for Justice Research and Development. They are housed out of Florida State University. I've never been to Florida. I was hired on this job straight from California with my master's degree in social work. We are currently doing research in the reentry population in 10 states, including here in Indiana. Fortunately, or unfortunately, no, it's fortunate that I do have lived experience with incarceration in California. I did 7 years in the California State Penitentiary, and that actually is a benefit to me now with the population I work with. In getting trained as a peer specialist, support specialist has been a godsend on working with my participants that I work with. You know, a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, quite a few of our participants that I work with, they are reentering society without any support, family or friends. I got one participant was incarcerated for 32 years, 65 years old. He has no family at all, you know, and so working with him, and he's been homeless on and off. You know, I've been able to get him some housing here and there. But because of financial difficulties and stuff he faces, he's twice has lost his housing opportunity. So, you know, I continue to work with him and moving forward with him and all my other participants. What inspires me is what I have at the bottom of my email says the human ability for positive change. And I believe in that tremendously, that it just takes, you know, it might take some time, guidance, but there's always that opportunity and hope that people are able to have that positive change in their life. And I hope to be part of that when it does happen. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. What an inspiration all three of you are. Let's jump right into your expertise as peer specialists and kind of talk through just briefly, what are some of the specific tasks that are entailed with that? And you've mentioned that there's a lot of flexibility and you follow a lot of different needs based on where your clients are needing that support. So if each of you could kind of talk through just to take us through the life of a day of a peer specialist and what that might look like.
I'll go first this time. One of the things, my caseload is about 70 individuals, but unfortunately, some of them have been reincarcerated, and or some of them have not been active in programming with me for whatever reason. Once they got out, they got busy and just fell off. We still keep them on file and record, and you know, continue to do outreach to them. But my day is pretty heavily scheduled. You know, I try to keep busy throughout the day, and during COVID, it was really difficult because it was all Zoom meetings and phone calls. And I love being one-on-one in person because there's more intimacy there. There's more ways of connecting with individuals face to face. So, you know, the job I have, you know, they said, you know, you can't meet with people. And I, you know, still met with people here and there just because, you know, we safety protocol and everything, and it was fine. But now that we're, you know, able to meet more often, I do notice that more participants are actively involved in the programming. I'll go out and see participants. I'll buy them lunch. We'll sit together and you know, talk about what, you know, we do a lot of solution focused brief therapy. You know, we focus on what's been going good in their lives, what's the good stuff, and instead of deficit focus. We try to avoid that. And get goals and plans and put together and provide the resources where they think they need them. And there's been many success stories and some heartbreaks also. So it's not a perfect business, if you want to call it that, but it's a true blessing to be able to work with people who I can relate to. I didn't mention before, but I do have, again, you mentioned I was 15 years in the military. I returned from overseas with PTSD, so I do have some mental health issues. I have been homeless twice in my life, once in my addiction and once out of my addiction. And I do have 20 years of recovery also. So being able to have all those experiences have been a benefit to me now in my life to help others.
I think we'll serpentine draft it, so I'll always be in the middle and someone will go first. My day-to-day process is a lot like Stephen's. I do a lot of individual one-on-one, just making sure that all of my clients have all of the resources that they need. I talk through the biggest thing now is them expressing their wants and their needs, because a lot of my clients feel as though that they are bothersome. And I try to let them know that that is not the case, and that this is something that I would want them to start to do, is to not only voice their wants and their needs, but also know what their wants and their needs are. So I'm also doing a lot with helping my clients with learned helplessness when they feel as though or the thing that they want to do is just so like overwhelming that they'll just shut down and then just kind of vanish because they don't know where else to go. So I'm helping a lot of them with not only finding the path that they want, finding the path that they need, but also like realizing the resources that are out there to them to make sure that they can get them themselves. Basically like letting them know that they are strong individuals in order for them to get this far, and not everything is by the making of their own hand, and that there is support. So a lot of phone calls, a lot of outreach, and also learning the things that I can in order to help them get the things that they need. So a lot of what I've been learning now is with the IHA vouchers and like how to help them through like that process. And also like filling out like forms, or even just like things that we would even take for granted, just like calling maintenance and be like, hey, there's something that is going on in my shower. I don't know if it's like Freddy Krueger or if it's like something from Anaconda, but like if you can call maintenance and maintenance will come and help you figure it out. So it's like, it's the all of help me make it make sense. That's what I like to say. How can I help you make it make sense? So that is what I do on a day-to-day basis.
I love it. Thank you, Lakeisha and Steve, for kind of paving the way here for me. Everything Lakeisha and Steve said, Mr. Pepper said, like for me, a day looks like showing up at the engagement center. So I work at the Recovery Engagement Center in the Mental Health America building. So on any given day, because we're drop-in, like I'm supporting individuals, or individuals are coming in, just looking for a place to be safe and looking for a place to connect. So we do a lot of social connecting. I am intentional about being socially engaged if people that are coming in are willing, just because I know how a simple "how are you doing" can change the trajectory of somebody's day, And so I make sure that I have time when I say "how you're doing," not "how you doing" and just carry on, So it's important for me to ask people how they're doing every day. And so I set that time aside on a Tuesday, especially, where that I'm just open. I'm open to the rec center, and I'm just in the center and engaging, and and I find out a lot of needs that aren't mentioned just by kind of listening and engaging and being the butterfly in the room. Just and so with that, as our visitors are allowed to just be themselves and carry on, I'm able to pick up on things that might be stressors or barriers that they may not otherwise talk about. And so coincidentally, the six individuals I have become recovery coach for, out of just having some conversation with them about some of the things that we talk about in the center. And, they just kind of got comfortable with wanting to talk. And so I do that. And out of that comes many different things, so you don't know which way you're going to walk or go with somebody, because everybody's, needs are different. So I listen with understanding. We do some, it just depends. So for instance, if someone's early in their recovery, and they may benefit from some early recovery skill techniques. I do a lot of motivational interviewing and making sure that people understand that they are enough, they are valid in, whatever their issues are. And just that, we can, again, like you said, Lakeisha, how can I help you? How can I help you to make it all make sense, or to knock down some of those barriers? Then I may encounter someone who genuinely doesn't know what they want. They're just like so over it, and so it's work, but it's also service work. It took me a long time to consider what I've been able to do as work, because it's a human thing, even without a dollar attached to it, like to help people. So yeah, it just depends, I may go to court with someone. I might mediate with their probation officer for them. I might talk to a landlord and, help them to explain why the cops come every other day, and, just, advocating, mediating, and just showing up for providing resources. So it's long and wide, but it's very rewarding, because I too am them, have been, so I get it. And so, that's pretty much short version. You'll always hear me saying short version, because I promise you, it's never, you can't talk enough about the ways that we are either helping or the ways that we can, like, getting creative in our spaces with how we show up for people, I think is important. So that's a day for me, just trying to scope out what's happening, how people are feeling when they're coming in, and just kind of go from there with some, engagement if that's something that they want. And, we play games, the board games, we pull those out. We have puzzles, coloring, it just, the engagement center is just that. And so however someone wants to come in and we can be of service, then that's what we do. There's generally 2 or 3 recovery coaches or recovery specialists in the house at any time. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's just a small plug I'll throw in there for free. If anybody wants to stop in, we're here, 1431 North Delaware.
I've heard a lot of common themes, the human connection, and I think this group really relates to how that has changed during COVID, right? Like those of us that thrive off of that person-to-person connection, it's been very, very difficult. So you guys, what I've heard is your one-stop shops almost, right? You have all these different skills, all these different strategies to help people. What are some of the specialized training that you've gone through to help kind of prepare you to know when to deploy those different skills and strategies that, board games seem very simple, but how are you prepared as a peer support specialist to kind of know how to read your clients and then when to step in, when to give more space?
Lived experience.
That's right.
I was like, does life count? It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like something that is offered through an organization or a person, because that's only the technical part of it.
Mhm.
Literally, if you haven't experienced it or basically like have the understanding within like yourself to like see what a person is actually going through without them actually having to talk about it is totally different. And it's only if like you at some capacity like have experienced it yourself. There's no way that I would be able to like approach someone that is living, or like a client of mine living behind like, an abandoned gas station, if I wouldn't know where to look. And it's only because like I have been in that position where it's like, okay, it's getting cold. Like the places that I would search for would be abandoned car lots, or like something behind a gas station, anywhere that has like some sort of shelter that can provide warmth is where I could potentially find a client that I haven't talked to in about a week. And that's only because of lived experience.
It's a human thing. I can't say it. I got to say, I just got to keep saying it. Like the lived experience for sure. Like if you, and then some, just as a human, like, man, you should, if we pay attention enough, I think it's my opinion, we all took some consideration of people around us or in our workplaces or people that we are supposed to serve, just kind of tune in, and it's just that human instinct, that we hope shows up, and that we don't say the wrong things, but just kind of take the time to feel and listen for that understanding, trying to, because maybe we don't have that experience, lived experience with what they're dealing with, but we do have what we have, and it's just a natural, and this is an assumption because you're all here, that you have this heart that cares for people. So I just, when I'm speaking, I'm assuming, and that's a joke, but I'm just assuming that we all have that in us, that piece of us that might want to nurture, even if we don't know. If somebody comes in and it's cold out, we know that they may enjoy a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So it just depends. Maybe I'll just sit it out there. Maybe I'll say, there you go. I'm always just reading, trying to read, and people, and go from there. I think it's important that we take the time to do that. And I say it again, just to stop and feel with people, just be in that energy. And then kind of push out from there. Like, I think it's just, a human nature thing. It's not easy. It's not always easy. And for me, like, there's times where what just because you're their coach, you've managed them, and you've spent time with the individual, but they say, oh, I'm fine. But that Tom is not fine today. But do we pry? No, we just allow them to be not okay, or not allow them to be okay, even if we think they're not okay, until they're ready to say, oh, I'm not okay, and oh, I knew it, none of that. You just kind of go with it, roll with it, and do what I can.
So as you're rolling with it, as you're gauging when you can connect on some of those deeper issues, how do your roles each support the health of your clients, the ongoing health or the connection to health resources, in that the belief that housing is healthcare and those two things are so closely aligned? What does that look like as you guys are doing some of that deeper work?
As it relates for me, as it relates to housing, and that's rough, Matt. Like it's heartbreaking. It's, we're limited in from where I sit. The process is a little harder to navigate for housing because we just don't have the systems that are used for housing resources so much. Like, I feel like, and I know that's a question later on, how could these things be improved for peers? But if they don't have housing, then we're trying to understand how they got there. What if and how to go, which way to go as far as housing, how they got there, why they're homeless, do they have income, do they have a job, do they have financial savings, how are they going to sustain, if you can get them in a place you can, but the main thing for me is just really taking the time to ask those questions. If they're saying, well, I don't have any place to stay, and my mom kicked me out because I was doing drugs in the basement, blah, 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 blah. Okay, those things stick out. We have substance use things that we could talk about and consider. And we, so it really does truly depend. And so then if I have a family that's homeless and are facing eviction, then I have a wonderful list that I've gotten from Miss Rachel Sample, and I see she's here, on places to direct the visitors that come in, and also the individuals that I meet with and serve through my own organization. So that's helpful. And then if someone is just homeless temporarily because of a disengagement with their family member or their loved one, then I may touch on some family support groups and refer out for some therapy that way. How, I ask those questions of how I can help in those particular situations. But I'm always referring back to obviously CHIP and the IHA and a lot of my peers and colleagues to help with that. But it's one of those gut wrenching things every day. It used to be years ago, food was a barrier. Now we can get food just about everywhere. Every resource center, every church, every just about everywhere. But housing, not so much. And it's the constant, you're just left with nothing. And it, so I'm waiting, wishing, hoping, praying that everything continues to go as it's going for the Housing First initiatives and all the wonderful stuff that's happening, and just learning how to better connect people that I serve to those resources would be really helpful for me.
Anybody else have thoughts on that? Because I do want to kind of go into like that gap analysis, right? Like as the work you're seeing those gaps, and how can we closer align the homeless system with peer specialists doing the work on the ground and make those connections easier, make it more intentional, make it simpler. It's very, very complex.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
For me personally, my story is a lot like the individuals that I've been meeting. I was homeless because my mom kicked me out because I was gay. Not was, am, continually. Present participles are a thing. And she sent me to conversion therapy and I ran away from that. A lot of people that I meet on the street, especially within Black homes that don't feel safe with coming out to their families or do, and their families kick them out, they have no safe place to go. And then when it's specified by gender, also becomes a problem because of the safety that's involved in that. So I would love for more gender inclusive options for people that I do meet and have a resource available for them, because also that resource wasn't available for me. The one that I do know of is Trinity Haven, and Trinity Haven only has like so many like beds within their house,
Right.
and then you have to go through the host homes program, which is through YouthLink and outreach, and then that's only available within Marion County. It's not available within the whole state of Indiana. So I think like even though we have like planted the seed, but we need to start like watering that seed so it can come to like fruition of some sort of, like that's what I would love to see. Like OutCare is a great resource for that gender inclusive and sexual, like everything in between, but it's a list that isn't updated often.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that more.
Okay. What are those resources that you found to be really critical? The resources that you go back to time in and time out and are very consistent, leading your participants to better outcomes and some of those resources that they need, and they are able to actually grasp those resources.
With the population I work with in reentry, one of the most outstanding resource I use, and it's alongside housing, is job placement. You know, they people come out and they want to work, you know, they want a good job. And so the biggest and most beneficial one that I've found is Recycle Force. They are huge in bringing people in and getting them trained, certified, and, you know, finding bigger and better jobs in the future, which go hand in hand with, you know, hey, I got an income, I can pay for housing now, you know. So, and they want to be independent, they want to be able to do that on their own. So that's one of my best resources I have when it comes to job placement for the population that I work with. I'm talking about, unfortunately, there are some participants I have that, because of their crime, they have residency restrictions or zoning areas where they can't live in certain areas. Now, that's a huge hindrance to a lot well, I don't say a lot, to some of my participants, where you know, they got a few motels around the city that will let them live there, that are in compliance, but it's not sustainable. You know, it's just too expensive. They can't afford to live there, and they end up on the streets. I, you know, recently lost a participant. He was recently killed, and then another one just 2 days ago got rearrested because he got kicked out of his motel and went missing for a few days. And I found him actually today in Marion County Jail. So he's a good example of, you know, he has family, he's got support, but he can't live with them, and it's horrific. It's a horrible situation to have to live in, and they come out saying, you know what, it feels like I'm being set up to fail, and it looks that way in a lot of cases. You know, and my hands get tied too. You know, I will send addresses to their PO or their community corrections officer to get you know, validation about, you know, clarification if that's a good address, and every single time, no. you know, and so it would help if we had some housing that can, you know, just on the outskirts of the city or in industrial areas and stuff that, you know, because of the zoning laws are pretty horrific.
It's great. Really good feedback there. We are going to allow some time for questions here at the end. But one more, if agencies wanted to kind of connect to peer specialists and say, hey, we really would love to have peer specialists fit within our programming. Maybe we don't have that, or we don't have the presence that we would like. What are some considerations that those agencies should make to be able to really have impactful results from hiring and deploying peer specialists in their daily work?
That was just gonna be my response, Matt, was just that, like, seek out and hire support within the organization, lots of it. Because that's where that employee is gonna take the time to hopefully get the results that are trying to be marked, which is to help individuals who are struggling. So literally create those opportunities within the budget, within the organization, and not, you know, so maybe even, you know, reach out to some of the, you know, I'd say bigger organizations that are utilizing peer supports, and maybe have some conversation about outsourcing, so for lack of a better word, until they can hire, but just definitely position the organization itself in a place to support those that are struggling by having peer support, community health workers, and the like, just in the place, you know, a peer, somebody that gets it. Yeah, so like, that'd be my suggestion.
Any other thoughts, Lakeisha or Stephen, on that before we open up to the group for additional questions?
I just wanted to add in to what Stephen was saying, as far as like, there's some good resources out there to help, you know, with these type of programs and stuff. And I actually went through a PACE. I'm not for sure if anybody's familiar with that, but PACE is it's a re-entry program. And they offer a lot of stuff that you don't find in different areas, you know, from the peer to the housing, to the recovery, to just, you know, counseling, management, to job finding, and making sure that when you go get a job, these people understand and they know the background that you're coming with. So it's like it's kind of like having a what do you call that? When you're looking for housing and you might need a co-signer. It's like, you know,
Oh, yeah, yep.
you know, and it's really helpful, you know, even through PACE, I'm able to be at this job, which is called Project Leah. And we continue to use the same expertise that they use at PACE here, you know, just helping individuals from job training to skill trainings to, you know, housing, and trying to understand and meet individuals' needs to help them be successful in life, you know. And, you know, especially with me going through a lot over the past couple of years and experience different things, from not being able to get a job because of my background, or not being able to continue education because of my background, or I wouldn't be able to get a job in that field, or just housing. And it's really a tough topic for me, I guess, because I'm actually kind of networked with a couple different organizations like JLUSA and a couple other partners that we're working with right now to try to help fix some of these barriers in the state of Indiana. So it's kind of cool to sit here and kind of listen to everybody's input on, you know, from different topics and stuff. So I'm actually learning as I'm sitting here listening to you guys. So I do appreciate the feedback and whatever else is out there that we can use to help network, to bring, you know, communities and everything together so we can help fix the issues that we have in Indiana, you know, because these are the main topics, from housing, education to fair wage jobs. So just being able to know these locations on where we could send people, or knowing that we send them here, you know, they're going to be successful. You know, even with someone being there along the way and coaching you to make sure that you don't fall back, you know. So I'm actually happy to be a participant of this class, you guys.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. I just want to say that, I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing that I would add is that, like, you know, we as peer support specialists do the work, but I also don't want us to forget about ourselves within the work. So if it were to go to like putting more peer support specialists out there, I would love to see, like, and this is going back to the training, like any training when it comes to boundaries and earning trust, because I love Prentice Hemphill, like boundaries are the distance where I can love you and myself simultaneously. Like I don't want to lose myself in the work because I've already lost myself in the past, and learning to have a strong concept of I can help you only if you want to help yourself is something that I would love for people to know. Like we can't force the help upon the person. They actually have to want the help themselves. And if they want the help, then they will definitely work with you. And that is something that I just want to stress to everybody. As much as we love to help, we never want to force the help, because then you'll seem like overbearing, like overwhelming, things like that. And that will actually start to have the person not trust you, and they will tell everybody else that they know. And then that turns into a circle of do not approach that person because they are just out of all the things. So you have to let the person come to you and work with them and listen with the intent to understand, to know more, so they can actually say, this person is great, go to them for help. And then when we have the more help, or when they say like there's more demand for help, that's when the positions will come, where people will start to open up and say, we need someone in this county and we need someone in that county. So it's all based upon, for me, word of mouth, but also what you hold dear to your heart.
I love that, Lakeisha. I don't know if you saw all the reactions, but you got some mad love on multiple of those comments. So that's awesome. Okay.
I also just want to add to Lakeisha, your comment as far as, you know, just more people out there to be able to help support the movement, which is, I think is awesome, you know, because like even when I went through the phase of needing that peer specialist to help me along the way, you know, there was at times where I started to slip away and I didn't feel like I wanted to give my all, but that peer specialist, she stayed on me. She's like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to get you here, you know, just, and she's always made sure that, like, I also was able to understand that sometimes it just might be too much and it's okay to take a break from something, but not to give up, you know, and just being able to have that peer specialist. Like I still have one to this day. Like, I love it. It's awesome. You know, we're getting places, we're doing things, and she's teaching and I'm learning so much. And it's just like, just being able to be in someone's life and never really understanding what that person might be going through. And maybe they are ready. Maybe they just got a lot of barriers that's just blocking the way. And sometimes we need the peer specialist to kind of help them overcome that, you know? So it's really awesome. So I really think that, you know, we need more of those around. We definitely do.
Are there any questions from the audience for our panelists? Thank you so much for your time, to each one of you, for taking your time out for this conversation.
I have a question. So what suggestions do you have for organizations seeking peer supports? As you were seeking employment in your roles, how did you get connected with the organizations that you're currently with? And as I asked the question, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Angel Wallace. I work for Lutheran Child and Family Services. and I work for a permanent supportive housing program called Pando, and we are currently looking for a peer support specialist. So this has been very insightful for me. I really appreciate your time being on this panel and sharing your wisdom with us. So with that being said, that's my question.
I can answer, maybe answer that question. So for, no, I could think, let me think about it. Somebody else go ahead for a second. I want to get this right because it's loaded. Let me think about that.
Leah Hicks.
You said Leah Hicks?
Yeah.
Go, Leah.
Can you guys hear me?
Shameless.
It's Leah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey there. I know we've worked some with Angel and tried to make different connections. I know with our peer cohort groups that we've got, and even Peer Network Indiana, and yeah, I mean it's been interesting. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know, I know you guys trying to fill this position because we've in most circumstances had situations where we've got peers who can't find peer positions and agencies that can't find the peers, and now we've got, you know, some of those connections made. But I know, you know, Angel, when you and I have talked, that one of the really great outcomes that our project had, we had a building a peer workforce in PSH that we've been doing the last year. We've had a cohort of individuals trained, and lots of networking and supports, and we have a second cohort that's just getting started. But most of the individuals in that cohort, and some of you on the panel are part of that, you know, have gotten positions as peers. You know, several of decided to go on and pursue their education, and so it's the very outcome we wanted is impacting your, you know, your search for a person. So which is, you know, a great problem to have. So you know, we're excited that we have a second cohort getting going and getting trained in November. But I know, you know, you've had your position for a bit. But yeah, I so hope that, you know, maybe there's some folks on this call coming together that we all haven't, you know, for whatever reason, crossed each other's paths, and that they'll reach out to you,
Yes.
or agencies may know people that are interested in your position.
Definitely. And I'm going to put my
Absolutely.
email in the chat just so you have it. If you do know anyone, I didn't come on for recruitment purposes, but that could be helpful. Thank you, Leah, for answering my question. And thank you to the panelists again. This has been just so insightful.
Yeah,
Okay,
you guys are awesome.
Angel, I'll just jump back in here because so how to get involved, like for me, how I ended up here was volunteering, like just going back to some of the places that helped me, and then going out from there. So like how can peers get connected, or potential peers get connected? I connected with the Indiana Recovery Network and the Indiana Addiction and Issues Coalition, and was part of the process of moving around the state to develop the regional recovery hubs project. So I'd say volunteering, you know, and you know, maybe you can't afford to pay the peers to come on, but you know, if you reach out where peers are, I think you may be pleasantly surprised that, you know, people will volunteer their time.
I want to throw it over real quick to Autumn, who I think has some additional information. Autumn, are you there?
I'm here. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I'm
Hi.
in Zoom meetings all day today, and I shut my eyes for 2 seconds and I was out. So I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, y'all, that I missed this. I'm sure it was an amazing conversation, but I would like to add that as we've received funding and implemented peers at Horizon House, just some things that I've noticed is, you know, it's kind of on the housing side, it's kind of a gray area between case management and the peer support. And I've noticed that there's a big push to do recovery support. And then there's been, I've had instances where religion has been brought into my clients' places, and it wasn't necessarily warranted. It's not been a problem, but I see that it could be a problem. We're a secular organization. And then also this is an AA or NA, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, AA, NA may not have worked for you, but it does work for some people. And I think that really encompassing all recovery is important. I was a member of AA for 10 years. So that's my recovery foundation. And I think that, I mean, I'm glad there's other avenues of recovery. I look at smart recovery these days more than I do AA, but I think that it's important to be mindful of people's individual recovery journeys as we're going into their homes or into these businesses to support them as peers.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you, Autumn, for that last perspective and context as well. It's been a real delight to be able to have this conversation, and I hope that it's a springboard for our community to figure out how to leverage the expertise of those of you that are doing the work on the ground and see these gaps and see these needs, and be able for the homeless system to be able to support that work more directly for you and your participants, but then also to fix those parts of our system that are not functioning well. It's a strategy that will take forever in time to continue to make it better, but it's certainly a important pursuit. If you want to learn more and get involved or support our collective work, check us out at www.chipindy.org. Also, mark your calendars and join us for the next Lunch and Learn in the series, and that'll be Wednesday, November 17th at noon, and it is titled Breaking the Cycle, Family Homelessness. Look for invite and more information on our social media and website. And if anyone wants to ask additional questions of the panel, we'll be here for a few minutes.
I wanted to share, in case there's somebody who didn't know or doesn't know, about the Landlord Mitigation Fund through FSSA. And what it is a opportunity for individuals who have been evicted or had a record. How you pronounce your name? Zainab, tell me your name. How you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Zainab.
As you were speaking about the barrier to get housing because your background or job because of backgrounds. In this particular case, housing because of a background. This fund serves as like a co-signer, but not with money, but just with words, because they've did their due diligence to see that you have changed, you have been on a job a year, you are able to financially manage your money, so it's really peculiar, but it's in place and it's a document that you receive that shows a landlord, essentially, I'm redeemed because I'm responsible now. You should consider renting this house to me now because I've did this, and that. And then it's an endorsement from the state because again, you would have went through the criteria to meet the eligibility requirement to get it. So that it's called the Landlord Mitigation Fund, and you can Google it on FSSA.